The black SUV honked twice outside my house on Mother's Day while my wife Dana stood in our kitchen doorway, lipstick. Our daughter Laya was upstairs, probably pretending she hadn't heard the fight. The silence felt like standing in a hail. I looked at the hand but didn't take it. Must be the home wrecker. Marcus laughed. A sound like gravel in a cement mixer. Home wrecker. Man, I didn't wreck nothing. Your lady came to me all on her own. Is that right? That's right. He put his arm around Dana's shoulders, and she didn't pull away. Matter of fact, she came to me because she needed a real man for a change. The bar got quiet. Conversations died as people turned to watch. Marcus, Dana's voice was sharp. "Don't what?" he asked. Marcus squeezed her shoulder. "Besides, it ain't like it's a secret. Half the town knows I've been taking care of what he can't handle at home." I set my beer down carefully. "You want to step outside and say that? Why? So you can get your ass kicked in private?" Marcus stood up, and he was bigger than he'd looked sitting down. "Brother, I already had your wife in your bed. What else you think I'm going to take from you?" The words hit like a physical blow. Around us, the bar held its breath. I smiled. Demolished building, waiting for the dust to clear. Then I walked down to the basement. My workbench sat in the corner. "Thanks for saying that so clearly." "What?" Instead of swinging, I pulled out my phone and stopped the recording app I'd been running since I walked in. I said, "Thanks. That'll play real nice in court." Marcus's face changed. "You recording me?" Public place. No expectation of privacy. I pocketed the phone. "But if you want to continue this conversation outside, I'm game." Dana grabbed Marcus's arm. "Let's just go." "Nah." Marcus shook her off. "This punk thinks he's smart. Let me show him what smart looks like." He pushed past me toward the door. I followed, and half the bar came with us. The alley behind Kelly's was narrow, lit by a single sodium light that made everything look yellow and sick. Marcus rolled his shoulders, cracked his knuckles. "You sure you want to do this, old man?" "Old man? What are you, 45? I could be your son." 42. "And if you were my son, I'd have taught you better manners." Marcus laughed and threw the first punch. He was big and strong, but gym muscles don't teach you how to fight. I slipped the punch, caught his wrist, and used his momentum to send him where I'd built it 15 years ago, solid oak scarred from years of projects. Face first into the brick wall, he bounced off, spun around, and came at me again. This time, I let him connect. A glancing blow off my cheek that stung but didn't drop me. Then I hit him back. A short right hand to his solar plexus. That doubled him over. Problem here? Officer Leland Ortiz stepped into the alley, hand resting on his nightstick. He was young, maybe 33, with the kind of mustache cops grew when they wanted to look tougher than they felt. "No problem, officer." I straightened my shirt. Just a conversation. Marcus was still bent over trying to catch his breath. "This attacked me. That right." Ortiz looked at me. "You attacked this gentleman." "He swung first. I defended myself. I got witnesses." Marcus pointed at the crowd from the bar. "Tell him." But the crowd was shaking their heads, mumbling things like "didn't see nothing," and looked fair to me. Ortiz turned on his body camera. "What's your name, sir?" "Marcus Hale." And above it, my tools hung in perfect rows. Hammers, wrenches, levels, everything in. "You, Jack Rohr. This about a woman?" "It's about respect," I said. Marcus finally straightened up. "It's about him being a jealous mbiades who can't satisfy his wife." Ortiz sighed. "Mr. Hale, you want To repeat that for my camera. You heard me. I said I already had his wife in his bed and there ain't nothing he can do about it. Okay. Ortiz made a note in his book. Mr. Rohr, you want to press assault? Charges? I looked at Marcus, who was glaring at me like I'd killed his dog. Not tonight. You sure? I'm sure. I stepped closer to Ortiz and lowered my voice. But save that clip. He nodded slightly. I'll make sure it gets filed, properly. As Ortiz walked away, Marcus grabbed my arm. This ain't over. I looked down at his hand, then back at his face. You're right. It's not. I smiled. I'll press charges when it hurts most. Monday morning, I met Carrie at the courthouse steps. She had a briefcase full of papers and the satisfied look of a hunter with fresh game. No contact. Its place. Everything serving a purpose. I pulled out the bottom drawer and found my beat book. Every contractor keeps. Order? I asked, signed and sealed. She handed me a manila folder. Mr. Hale is officially prohibited from coming within 500 FT of you, your home, or any job site where you're working. What about Dana? Can't control who she sees. But if he violates the order around you, it's an automatic arrest. I flipped through the papers. Legal language, but the message was clear. Marcus just lost access to half the town. There's more. Carrie pulled out another folder. Your brother's shell companies. 3 of them have been awarded city contracts in the last 2 months. All no bid. All signed off by Sal Navarro. Conflict of interest, at minimum. I made copies and sent them to the newspaper. She grinned. Anonymous tip from a concerned citizen. We walked into the courthouse together. The building smelled like old wood and older secrets. At the clerk's office, Carrie filed the restraining order and paid the fees. One more stop, she said. 20 minutes later, we were sitting in the offices of Peterson and Associates Human Resources Consulting. Dana's company contracted out their HR work to 1. A composition notebook where you track the rhythm of a job site. Who shows up late? Who cuts corners? Who? Peterson's, which meant everything went through their office. Miss Rachel Peterson was a thin woman with gray hair and the kind of eyes that had seen every workplace scandal twice. Mr. Rohr, how can I help you? I slid a manila envelope across her desk. I need to file a complaint about inappropriate workplace conduct. She opened the envelope and pulled out the photos Carrie had taken. Dana and Marcus in the parking lot of her office building, kissing against his SUV. Timestamps showed 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. These were taken during work hours. During an audit meeting she was supposed to be running. Peterson studied the photos, and this man is Marcus Hale, not an employee of the company. I see. She made notes on a legal pad. Is there more? Carrie produced another envelope. Text messages between Miss Rohr and Mr. Hale, sent during work hours from her company phone. Some contain explicit images. Peterson's expression didn't change, but she wrote faster. How did you obtain these public records requests? Carrie, I needs watching. I'd filled 3 of these books over the years, but this one still had pages left. I opened to lied smoothly. Mr. Hale posted them on social media with identifying information visible. It wasn't true, but Peterson couldn't verify that without involving lawyers, and she had bigger problems to worry about. I'll need to investigate this, Peterson said finally. How long? 2 weeks? Maybe less? She looked up. Mr. Rohr, you understand this could affect your wife's employment? I understand. From Peterson's office, I drove straight to First National Bank. I'd banked there for 15 years, and Bill Harrison, the branch manager, knew me. Well, Jack, good to see you. What can I do for you today? Need to freeze the joint account and transfer my direct deposit? Bill's smile faltered. Freeze the account, Jack. That could cause problems at home. Bill, my wife is sleeping with another man and planning to clean out our savings. I'm protecting. What's mine? His face went red. Jesus, Jack. I'm sorry. Not your fault. Can you do it? Yeah. But she'll know by tomorrow morning. Good. I filled out the fresh page and wrote, Mother's Day. Dana leaves with unknown mail and Michigan plates. Gym logo, Hales Iron. Paperwork, moved my direct deposit to a new account, and froze everything joint we had. Dana would wake up tomorrow with no access to $28,000. That afternoon, my phone rang. Tommy, Jack, what the hell are you doing? Working? What are you doing? You know what I mean. This bull crap with Marcus, with Dana's job. What about it? You're burning down everything around you to get back at her. No, Tommy. I'm burning down everything around me to get back at you. The line went quiet. Jack, you set this whole thing up. Fed Marcus money through your shell company. Convinced Dana she needed space to figure things out. You played both sides. That's not it. Is. And I've got the paperwork to prove it. I was walking toward the courthouse. Phone pressed to my ear. Question is why? What did you get out of pimping my wife? Jesus. Christ, Jack, answer me. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? Tommy's voice dropped. You were supposed to catch them, get mad, divorce her quick, clean break, no lawyers, no fighting over. The pen felt steady in my hand. 20 years in construction teaches you that every problem has a solution, every structure, assets. Cheaper to keep her. Cheaper to dump her. I stopped walking. And then, what? And then you'd need a new start. New company. Fresh beginning. I had investors lined up. Your investors? Yeah. Who would hire your construction crews, use your equipment, rent your office space, Jack? Well, I went from owner to employee. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. I pushed through the courthouse doors. You wanted to buy me out for pennies on the dollar. And when I wouldn't sell, you decided to break me down first. I'm your brother. No, a brother wouldn't do this. I hung up and walked to the clerk's office, where a deputy marshal was waiting with Marcus's restraining order papers. He's downstairs, the deputy said, in the hallway by the bathroom. We took the elevator down. Sure enough, Marcus was pacing near the men's room, checking his phone every few seconds. He looked up as we approached. What's this about? The deputy handed him the papers. You're being served with a no-contact order, Mr. Hale. Marcus read the first page. Has weak points. You just need to study the blueprints. I was still writing when Leah crept downstairs. Dad! Her voice, his face darkening. This is bull crap. It's a court order, the deputy said. You violate it. You go to jail. I got rights. You got the right to stay 500T. FSEEFFT, away from Mr. Roar. The deputy pointed at me. That includes his home, his workplace, and anywhere he happens to be. Marcus crumpled the papers. You think this changes anything? I smiled. We'll see. He took a step toward me, then stopped when he realized the deputy was watching. This ain't over sounds like a threat, the deputy observed. Marcus backed away, still glaring. We'll see who wins this game. Game's already over, I said. You just don't know it yet. As Marcus stalked away, my phone buzzed with a text from Dana. You froze our account How am I supposed to pay bills? I typed back. Same way you've been paying for everything else. Ask your boyfriend, the response came immediately. I'm not leaving you for him. This is temporary. Then end it. I can't, Tommy says. She, fresh as a lie. Stop being ridiculous, Jack. There won't be a divorce. Was small. Careful. At 17, she'd inherited Dana's sharp eyes, but my stubborn chin. Where did Mom go? Out. I stopped typing. Then I have to go. I pocketed the phone and smiled. The trap was closing one legal document at a time. That evening, Leah found me in the basement updating my beat book. Dad? Mom called. She's staying at Aunt Jenny's tonight. Okay. She was crying. I looked up from my notebook. Leah's face was a mixture of concern and confusion. You want to talk about what's happening? She sat on the bottom step again, our unofficial conference spot. Are you and Mom getting divorced? I don't know. Do you want to? I want her to stop lying to me. What if she can't? I set down my pen. What do you mean? I mean, what if she's in too deep to stop? What if stopping means, I don't know, admitting she was wrong about everything? At 17, my daughter understood things about pride and shame that had taken me 42 years to figure out. Then we'll see what happens next. Dad, her voice was small. Whatever happens, I'm on your side. I didn't look up from the notebook. With who? Now, I met her gaze. Leah had always walked over and hugged her, and she felt smaller than she had when she was 10. I know, baby. I know. The old Riverside paper mill had been empty for 6 years, a concrete skeleton against the gray morning sky. I'd been hired to survey the property for potential demolition, which meant spending 3 hours inside with a clipboard and a camera, documenting everything from load-bearing walls to asbestos risks. What I found was Tommy's crew working on the lot next door. I watched through a broken window as my brother directed 2 men in hard hats. They were pouring footers for what looked like a small office building, maybe 3,000 square feet. The permits posted on the fence showed expedited approval. Signature stamps from Sal Navarro's office. Fast-track permits cost extra and required justification. Emergency repairs, public safety issues, or economic development projects that couldn't wait for normal processing. Tommy's little building qualified as none of those. I took pictures with my phone, making sure to capture the permit, numbers, and dates. Then I climbed to the second floor of the mill and got shots of the whole operation from above. Been too smart for comfortable lies. Someone she shouldn't be with. She sat on the bottom step hugging her knees. That's when I saw the real problem. Tommy's crew wasn't following the foundation specs on their blueprints. The footers were shallow, maybe 18 in instead of the required 3 FT. In Michigan soil, that meant the building would start settling within 2 years. By year 5, it would be condemnable, shoddy work on purpose. Tommy was building something designed to fail. My phone buzzed. Text message from Leah. Dad, Mom. Wants to meet you at Riverside Park at noon. She says it's important. I checked my watch. 11:30, I could make it if I left now. But first, I had a stop to make. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration office was downtown in a gray building that looked like a filing cabinet turned sideways. I dealt with OSHA twice in my career. Once for a legitimate safety violation, once for a bullcrap complaint filed by a competitor. Janet Wu ran the local office. She was maybe 50 with the kind of precision that comes from 20 years of measuring workplace dangers. Mr. Rohr, what brings you here? I handed her saw the messages on her phone last week. She left it on the counter when she was showering. Laya's voice dropped to photos I'd printed at Kinko's. Unsafe construction practices at 1247 Riverside Drive. She flipped through the pictures, her expression growing serious. Shallow footers, 18 in and 3 FT's soil, permits, expedited approval, but no emergency justification on file. Janet made notes on a yellow pad. You got blueprints? Posted on the job site fence. Public access. I'll send someone out this afternoon. She looked up. This your competition? My brother. Her eyebrows went up. That's complicated. Not for me. I left OSHA and drove to Riverside Park where Dana was sitting on our old bench by the water. She looked smaller than I remembered, like she'd been pressed flat by invisible weight. Jack. She didn't stand when I approached. Thank you for coming. I sat on the other end of the bench, leaving space between us. Laya said it was important. Everything's falling apart. Whose fault is that? Mine. Her voice was so quiet I almost missed it. All mine. We sat in silence, watching the river. I whisper. Some of them were forwarded to Uncle Tommy. The pen stopped moving. My flow passed. A barge was pushing upstream, loaded with coal that would be burned somewhere else by someone else for problems we'd never see. I got suspended from work pending investigation, Dana said finally. I know. The bank account's frozen. I know that too. Tommy says you're trying to destroy me. Tommy says, a lot of things. Dana turned to look at me and her eyes were red from crying. He says you hired a private investigator, that you're building a case to take everything in the divorce. There isn't going to be a divorce. You said so, yourself. Jack, you said, and I quote, we're not getting a divorce. So what's the problem? She was quiet for a long moment. The problem is I can't stop seeing Marcus. Can't or won't. Can't. Her voice broke on the word. Tommy says, if I stop now, if I come crawling back, you'll use it against me forever. Proof that I'm weak, that I can't make my own decisions. Tommy says that. He says, you're the kind of man who never forgives, never forgets. He says, the only way to handle you is to be strong. Brother Tommy, my business partner for 8 years, the one person I trusted without question. What kind of messages? To stick to my choice and make you respect it. I stared at her. And you believe him? I don't know what to believe anymore. A jogger ran past, breathing hard, focused on nothing but the next step. I envied him. Dana, do you love Marcus? She wiped her eyes. No. Do you love me? I don't know. Then why are we sitting here? Because I'm scared of what? Of admitting I was wrong. Of admitting I threw away 20 years for nothing. She looked at me with desperate eyes. If I come home now, if I end it with Marcus, will you forgive me? I thought about the question. Really thought about it. 3 weeks ago, the answer would have been yes without hesitation. Now, I don't know. She started crying again. Soft sobs that shook her shoulders. Then what am I supposed to do? Figure it out. I stood to leave, and she grabbed my arm. Jack, please. I need help. I need you to tell me what to do. I looked down at her hand on my arm, then at her face. I'm not. Pictures and other stuff. Laya's cheeks went red. Dad, I think Uncle Tommy knows. Your father, Dana. I'm not your brother and I'm not your guidance counselor. You made your choice. Live with it. I pulled free and walked away. That night, Laya came down to the basement while I was updating my beat book. How did it go? With Mom? Not good. She called me crying. Says you won't help her fix things. I set down my pen. Laya, do you remember when you were 12 and you broke Mrs. Patterson's window with your softball? Yeah. What did I tell you to do? Go apologize and offer to pay for it with my allowance money. Did I go with you? No. You said I had to face the consequences of my choices by myself. Laya was quiet for a moment. This is different. How? Because Mom's not 12? No? She's 40, which makes it worse. Laya sat on her usual step. Dad, can I ask you something? Shoot. When you and Mom got married, did you promise to love her no matter what? The question hit harder than I expected. I promised to love her for better or worse. Isn't this about this guy? I set the pen down carefully. You sure? The forwarded ones. Worst part? I looked at my daughter, so young, and already seeing through the comfortable lies adults tell themselves. Yeah, baby, this is definitely the worst part. So, shouldn't you love her anyway? I shook my head. Love isn't a promise to let someone destroy you, Laya. Love is a promise to be your best self for another person when they stop trying to be their best self. Then what? Then you have to decide if you're willing to love someone who's given up on themselves. She was quiet for a long time. Have you decided? I'm working on it. My phone rang. Unknown number. Jack Rohr. Mr. Rohr, this is Janet Wu from OSHA. We inspected that site you flagged today. What did you find? Exactly what you said. We'd find shallow footers, substandard concrete mix, no proper soil compaction. The whole project's getting a stop work. Order. Good. There's more. The permits were filed under false pretenses. We're recommending the city attorney look into fraud charges. I smiled. Thanks for letting me know. Mr. Rohr, your brothers, had gym pictures, this big guy flexing in mirrors. Mom was asking Uncle Tommy if he looked safe and discreet. Going to know you filed this complaint. I'm counting on it. After I hung up, Laya was staring at me with wide eyes. Dad, what did you just do? My job. The next morning, Tommy called at 6 a.m. You son of a... Nabinendas. Good morning, brother. OSHA shut down my job. 3 months of work. Gone. Maybe you should have followed the building codes. This is about Dana, isn't it? You're burning down everything I've built because your wife wanted some strange. This is about you, Tommy. About you financing Marcus to break up my marriage, then setting up shell companies to steal my contracts. I've got the paper trail, LLCs, bank transfers, permit applications with forged signatures. You want to keep playing games, or do you want to talk like adults? The line was quiet for a long moment. What do you want? I want to know why my own brother decided to destroy my life. It wasn't personal. Everything about this is personal. Jack, listen. No, you listen. Dana got something cold slithered down my spine. I reached for my phone and dialed Tommy's number, put it on speaker. He, suspended today, pending investigation for workplace misconduct. Your boy Marcus is facing harassment charges. Your construction project is dead in the water, and I'm just getting started. You're crazy. I'm methodical. There's a difference. I hung up and went back to work. Thursday afternoon found me back at the old paper mill, but this time I wasn't alone. Sal Navarro was climbing out of his city car, clipboard in hand, looking like a man with unpleasant business to conduct. Rohr S. Heard you've been busy this week. Always am. He approached the mill entrance where I'd been working since sunrise. Got a complaint about unsafe practices at this site. From who? Anonymous tip. His smile was thin as paper. Says you're cutting corners on the asbestos survey. I set down my camera. That's interesting. Why is that? Because I haven't started the asbestos work yet. That's scheduled for next week. Sal's smile flickered. Well, maybe. The complaint was preemptive. Maybe the complaint was bullcrap. Careful, Roar. She grabbed her purse with fingers that shook just enough to tell me she knew exactly what she was doing. I need this, answered on the third ring. Jack, what's up, brother? In the background, I heard weights clanking, music pumping. The E can shut down this job with one phone call, and I can file a complaint about harassment with your supervisor. Want to? See who wins. We stared at each other across 20 EFT of broken concrete. S had power, but he'd overplayed his hand. Just do your job, he said finally. Always do. After S left, I climbed to the third floor of the mill and took photos of Tommy's job site from above. The stop work order was still posted, but I could see fresh tire tracks in the mud. Someone was still working despite the OSHA shutdown. My phone rang. Laya, Dad, you need to come home. What's wrong? Mom's here. And she brought Marcus. I was in my truck and moving before she finished the sentence. I reached our street in 8 minutes, breaking every speed limit between the mill and home. Marcus's SUV was parked in our driveway like he owned the place. Inside, I found Dana and Marcus in our living room. Dana was sitting on the couch where she'd read bedtime stories to Laya. Marcus was standing by our fireplace, hands in his pockets, looking comfortable. Familiar sound of a gym in full swing. That music isn't from your office. The line went quiet except for that, Jack. Dana stood up. We need to talk. Get him out of my house. He has a right to be here. No, he doesn't. I pulled out. My phone. He's violating a restraining order just by being here. Marcus laughed. Restraining order don't apply to your wife's house. It's not her house. It's our house. And I'm telling you to leave. Make me. I looked at Dana. You want him here? I want us to work this out like adults. Adults don't bring their lovers home to negotiate with their husbands. Marcus stepped forward. Maybe adults don't let their wives find better men. That's when Laya appeared at the top of the stairs. Mom, what's going on? Dana's face went white. Yila, go to your room. Why is he here? Marcus looked up at my daughter with the kind of expression that made my hands curl into fists. Hey there, sweetheart, I'm Marcus. I'm a friend of your mom's. I know who you are. Laya's voice was cold. You're the reason my parents are fighting, Allah. Dana snapped. Go upstairs. No. L.A. came down the stairs, slowly, deliberately. This is my house, too. She walked past Marcus without looking at him and stood next to me. Telltale gym noise. Jack, listen. I hung up. Laya was staring at me with eyes, too. Dad's right, she said. You don't belong here. Marcus's expression hardened. Little girl, you don't know what you're talking about. I know more than you think. Layla, stop, Dana said, but Laya wasn't finished. I know. You've been texting my mom for 6 weeks. I know Uncle Tommy introduced you. I know you told your friends at the gym that you were breaking in a married woman. I heard you say it. The room went dead quiet. When? I asked. Last weekend when Mom took me to get ice cream after her workout. Laya's voice was steady as a construction laser. We stopped at the gas station next to the gym. Marcus was outside talking to his friends. He didn't see us. Marcus's face had gone red. You little don't. I stepped between them. Don't even think about finishing that sentence. Jack. Dana said she's lying. No, Mom. I'm not. Laya pulled out her phone. I recorded it. She pressed play. Marcus's voice came through the tiny speaker bragging to someone about his project wife and how he was giving her what her old man can't. Dana's face old for her face. Dad, what are you going to do? I looked down at my beat book at the fresh page I'd started. Crumpled. You recorded him? I recorded him because I knew you wouldn't believe me otherwise. Marcus grabbed for the phone. Give me that. I caught his wrist before he could touch my daughter. No, let go of me. Leave now or what? Or I call Officer Ortiz and let him know you violated the restraining order while threatening a minor. Marcus looked around the room at Dana's tears, at Laya's defiant stare, at me standing between him and everything he thought I could take. This ain't over, he said. Yeah, it is. He walked to the door, then turned back. Dana, you coming? She looked at him, then at Laya, then at me. I need to think. Think fast. I ain't waiting around while you play house with these losers. The door slammed behind him. His engine roared. Tires squealed, and he was gone. Dana sat heavily on the couch. How did this happen? You let it happen, I said. I thought Tommy said Marcus was different. Then I picked up the pen again. I'm going to finish the job. Tuesday morning found me sitting in my pickup outside. That he cared about me. Tommy lied. But why? I sat across from her. Laya still, standing beside me. Because he wanted our company. He wanted me broke and desperate so he could buy me out cheap. You were just the tool he used to break me down. Dana's eyes filled with fresh tears. I'm so stupid. You're not stupid. You're 40 years old, and you let yourself be manipulated by men who saw you coming a mile away. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Mom, Laya said softly, are you going to keep seeing him? I don't. I know because if you are, I'm staying with Dad. Dana looked up sharply. Ella, I mean it. I won't live in a house where you bring him around. You can't choose between your parents. I'm not choosing between my parents. I'm choosing between my mom and the woman who's been pretending to be my mom for the last month. The words hung in the air like smoke. Dana started crying again, and this time I didn't feel sorry for her. That evening, after Dana left for her sister's house, I was updating my beat book when my phone rang. Carrie, Tommy's office, watching him through the window. He was pacing, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing like a man trying to, Jack, we got a problem. What kind of problem? The kind that makes everything we've been doing look like child's play. Explain. I was going through Tommy's financial records, cross-referencing the shell companies with bank deposits. Your brother's been skimming pension contributions from his employees to keep Marcus's gym afloat. I set down my pen. How much? 47,000 so far. Maybe more. Jesus, it gets worse. The gym lease isn't just financed by Tommy. It's guaranteed by a pension fund that covers half the construction workers in the county. Meaning. If the gym goes under, it takes the pension fund with it. 300 familjer here ben bespi. Familias basurna. Tabad bial bisar be nabatinemas. Money. I closed my eyes. How long has this been going on? 6 months, maybe longer. Who else knows? Just us for now. Carrie? Yeah. We finished this tonight. Rain started falling at sunset, turning the streets into black mirrors that reflected neon and headlights. I was parked outside Hale's Iron, watching the last customers trickle out into the storm. Marcus's SUV sat under a street, convinced someone of something they both knew was bullcrap. When he finally came out, his smile was too bright, too light. Engine running. He was inside the gym, moving fast, carrying boxes to his vehicle. Through the window, I could see him stuffing files and equipment into garbage bags. He was running. I called Carrie. He's cleaning out the gym. Probably got wind of the pension investigation. How? Tommy, your brother called Marcus 20 minutes ago. I was monitoring the gym's landline. Where's he going? South, if he's smart. Canada, if he's desperate. I started my truck. I'm following him. Jack, let the police handle this. The police don't know about the pension money yet. They will in the morning. Morning's too late. Marcus came out of the gym carrying a laptop bag and what looked like a small safe. He threw them in the back of his SUV, slammed the tailgate, and climbed behind the wheel. I followed him through downtown, keeping 2 cars back. The rain was getting heavier, turning the windshield into a waterfall that the wipers couldn't quite clear. Marcus drove past the mall, past the airport turnoff, toward the industrial district by the river. I knew where he was going. The boat launch at Quick. Jack, man, you look like hell. Everything okay? Get in the truck. Riverside Park. A dozen ways to disappear from there if you had a boat waiting. At the launch ramp, Marcus, parked next to a beat-up John boat tied to the dock. He started transferring boxes from his SUV to the boat, working, fast despite the rain. I parked 50 yards away and called 911. 911, what's your emergency? This is Jack Rohr. I'm at Riverside Park boat launch. There's a man here fleeing with stolen property. Stolen property? Pension funds, about $50,000. Sir, are you sure? I'm sure. His name is Marcus Hale, and he's about to disappear down the river. Stay in your vehicle, sir. Officers are on route. I hung up and got out of the truck. Marcus saw me coming and straightened up, a file box in his hands. What the hell you doing here? Same thing you are leaving town. I ain't leaving, just moving some stuff. To where? Canada. His eyes narrowed. You don't know crap. I know you've been stealing pension money to keep your gym open. I know Tommy's been helping you. And I know you're about to run like the... Listen, about yesterday. Get in the truck, Tommy. He climbed into the passenger seat, and I pulled out of the coward you are. Marcus sat down the box and stepped toward me. Coward? You heard me? Man, I should have kicked your ass properly the first time. Should have. Didn't. He swung at me, a wild haymaker that missed by 6 in. I grabbed his wrist, spun him around, and shoved him toward his boat. He stumbled, caught himself on the dock, and came back swinging. This time, he connected a solid punch to my ribs that knocked the wind out of me. But he'd forgotten about the wet dock. His foot slipped, and he went down hard, arms windmilling as he tried to catch his balance. He hit the water with a splash that echoed off the concrete ramp. The current caught him immediately. The river was running high from spring rains, fast and cold and dark as coffee. Help! Marcus flailed in the water, trying to swim against the current. I can't. I walked to the edge of the dock and found a coil of rope 20, FT long. Good condition. I tied one end to a cleat and threw the other toward Marcus. The rope landed 3 FT short. Closer. Marcus was struggling, weighed down by his clothes in panic. Throw it closer. I pulled the rope back and threw. Lot, without a word. We drove through downtown past the courthouse and the old mill until we reached the Riverside Park. Again. This time it landed right in front of him. He grabbed for it with both hands, and I let it slip from the cleat. Marcus went under, came up sputtering, went under again. The current carried him downstream toward the old mill dock, where the water ran deep and fast between the concrete pilings. I stood on the dock holding the rope, watching him fight the river. Then lights cut through the rain, and Officer Ortiz's cruiser splashed into the parking lot. What's going on here? Ortiz ran toward the water, flashlight beam, dancing across the waves. Man fell in, I said. I was trying to help. Ortiz kicked. off his boots, and dove in without hesitation. He was a strong swimmer, county champion in high school, and he reached Marcus just before the current swept him into the pilings. They made it back to shore together, Marcus coughing, upriver water and shivering like a wet dog. "You okay?" Ortiz helped Marcus sit up. "He tried to kill me," Marcus pointed at me with a shaking hand. "He threw the rope short on purpose." Ortiz looked at me. "That true?" I threw the rope twice. "Night, to prove I'm still desirable." The words hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. 20 years of marriage, and she was. "Where we used to fish as kids. You want to tell me why you're helping my wife cheat?" Tommy's face went through several. "Current strong tonight. You didn't see him fall?" "I saw him stand up from a punch and slip on a wet dock." I held up my hands. "Check my knuckles if you want." I didn't push him. Ortiz examined Marcus's face in the flashlight beam. "No. Defensive wounds, no fresh bruises, just river water and shame." "What were you doing here, Mr. Hale?" "Moving some stuff." "To where?" Marcus hesitated. "Storage in a boat." "It's my boat." Ortiz walked over to the SUV and shined his light through the windows. Boxes of files, a laptop, what looked like bank records scattered across the back seat. "Whose laptop?" "Mine says property of HR Solutions on the side." Marcus's face went white. "I can explain. Downtown, both of you at the police station. They separated us into different rooms. I spent 2 hours answering questions about what I'd seen, what I'd done, and why I happened to be at the boat launch during a rainstorm. When they finally let me go, Marcus was still in custody. The laptop, it turned out, belonged to Dana's company. The files in his car contained pension, expressions before settling on wounded innocence. Jesus, Jack, is that what you... Records and bank statements that didn't belong to him. Mr. Roar Ortiz caught me in the hallway. That recording from the bar fight last week. What about it? Mr. Hale made some interesting admissions about your wife, your home, things he probably shouldn't have said on camera. Probably not. We'll be in touch. I drove home through the rain, thinking about Marcus in that holding cell, thinking about Dana waiting for a phone call that wouldn't come. Thinking about Tommy watching his empire crumble one permit at a time. Numbers don't lie. People do. Monday morning, I was drinking coffee in my kitchen when the newspaper landed on my front porch with a wet thud. The headline read, "Local businessman accused of pension fraud." The story ran above the fold, complete with photos of Tommy's construction site and a headshot that made him look like a cornered rat. The reporter had done her homework. Shell companies, forged permits, diverted funds, the works. My phone started ringing at 7 a.m. and didn't stop. "Jack, it's Bill Harrison at the bank. Can you come in this morning?" "What? Think?" "I think Dana's been talking to you about a guy named Hale. I think you've been giving her advice about some irregularities with your brother's accounts. The FBI is asking questions. FBI. Pension fraud is a federal crime, Jack. They want to talk to anyone who might have information about Tommy's business practices." I poured another cup of coffee. "I'll be there at 9 a.m. The next call was from Janet Wu at OSHA. "Mister, Channel 7 wants to interview you about the safety violations at your brother's site. What should I tell them?" "Whatever you want. It's all public record now." At 9:15, I was sitting in Bill Harrison's office while 2 FBI agents asked questions about Tommy's finances. They were polite, professional, and thorough as tax auditors. "Did you have any knowledge of your brother's pension fund activities?" Agent Sarah Collins asked. "None." "Did you ever suspect financial irregularities in his business operations?" "I suspected he was cutting corners. I didn't know he was stealing retirement money." "When did you first become aware of the shell companies?" When my investigator found them last week, Agent Collins made. Think yesterday you knew exactly where she was going. He stared out at the river for a long moment. Look, brother, notes. You hired an investigator. Personal matter. My wife was having an affair with Marcus Hale, the man who was. I arrested at the boat launch. That's him. The agents exchanged glances. Mr. Rohr, did you know that Mr. Hale was being financially supported by your brother's companies? I found out last week. How did that make you feel? I looked out the window at the parking lot where reporters were setting up cameras. Like my brother was more interested in destroying my marriage than protecting his employees' retirement funds. That afternoon, I was back at the mill when Dana called. Jack, I need to see you. I'm working. Please. It's important. More important than the last important thing. I got fired. I sat down my clipboard when this morning, HR said, the investigation found policy violations, inappropriate use of company equipment, and conduct unbecoming. Her voice was shaking. 20 years with that company. Jack. 20 years. What about your benefits? Terminated immediately. Severance. They said I was fired for cause. No severance, no COBRA, nothing. Marriage it's complicated. You and Dana, you've been together since high school. Maybe she just needs what? I walked outside the mill where the river looked like a belt of spilled oil under the gray sky. Where are you now? Sitting in my car in the parking lot of my old office, watching them change the locks on what used to be my department. What about Marcus? Still in jail, can't make bail. Tommy won't answer my calls. I could hear her crying through the phone. Soft sobs that might have moved me 3 weeks ago. Dana. Yeah. You remember? What you told me on Mother's Day about needing to prove you were still desirable. Jack, how's that working out for you? The line went quiet, except for her crying. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Can it be both? Not anymore. I hung up and went back to work. That evening, the local news led with Tommy's story. The reporter was young, blonde, and hungry for a career-making scandal. Sources close to the investigation say Thomas Rohr may have diverted as much as $75,000 from employee pension funds to finance personal ventures, including a local gymnasium and several real estate projects. They showed aerial footage of Tommy's construction site, now empty. Permission to screw around. Space to figure things out. This is how modern marriages work, Jack. You can't own, except for police tape and abandoned equipment. Mr. Rohr could not be reached for comment, but his attorney issued a statement denying all allegations. My phone rang. Tommy, you happy now? Getting there. I lost everything, Jack. The company, the contracts, my reputation. Your employees lost their pension money. I was going to pay it back with what? Monopoly money. The projects would have made enough to cover everything and more. What projects? The one OSHA shut down for safety. Violations? The gym that's losing money every month? Tommy was quiet for a moment. How did you know about the gym? Finances. Same way I knew about the pension funds. I asked the right people the right questions. You destroyed me. You destroyed yourself. I just made sure everyone could see it. What about family? What about loyalty? What about it? I'm your brother? My brother wouldn't have ducked with my marriage to steal my business. I was trying to help. You? Help me what? Lose my wife, my house, and my company all at once. Help another person. The words tasted like bile. Modern marriage. Yeah. People have. You start over. Clean slate. Fresh beginning with you holding all the cards. The line went quiet again. Jack. What? I'm sorry. Too late for sorry, Tommy. What do you want from me? Nothing. You've got nothing left to give. I hung up and turned off the phone. Wednesday morning, I signed the papers that ended everything. The house sold in 4 hours to a developer who planned to tear it down and build condos. Cash deal, no inspection, no negotiation. I took 70% of asking price and walked away clean. Dana was waiting in the driveway when the moving truck arrived. "You can't do this." "Already did." She watched 2 men in coveralls carry our couch out the front door. "This is my home." "Was your home?" "You signed the quit claim deed." "I was drunk when I signed that." "You were sober when you ducked Marcus in our bed." The words hit her like a punch. She stumbled backward, one hand pressed to her mouth. "The neighbors are watching," I said quietly. She looked around. Mrs. Patterson was standing in her yard with a coffee cup. The Hendersons were pretending to check their mailbox. Even old Mr. Kowalski. Needs. They grow apart. They grow back together. It doesn't have to be a disaster. I studied my brother's face, had come out to his porch. "They all know, don't they? Small town, Dana. People talk." The movers came back for the dining room table, the one Dana had picked out for our 10th anniversary. She'd spent 3 months shopping for it, measuring and comparing, making sure it was perfect. Now it was just furniture. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. "Jack, please." "Please." What? "Please pretend the last month didn't happen. Please take you back so you can do it again next year." "I won't do it again. You said you wouldn't do it the first time." Laya came outside, carrying a suitcase and her laptop bag. She decided to stay with me temporarily until the dust settled and she could figure out what came next. "You ready, Dad?" "Almost." Dana looked at our daughter with desperate eyes. "You don't have to choose sides." "I'm not choosing sides, Mom. I'm choosing self-respect." The words were mine, but Laya said them with more conviction than I'd managed in weeks. Marcus's SUV turned into our street, engine loud enough to wake the dead. He parked behind the moving truck, looking for the man who taught me to throw a curveball and helped me build my first workbench. All I saw was and got out, face twisted with rage. "What the hell is this? This is my house being sold to someone who will appreciate it," I said. "You can't sell Dana's house. It's not Dana's house. She signed it over to me last week." Marcus looked at Dana. "You signed what?" "I was drunk," she said again, like repetition would make it true. "Drunk or not, you signed." I handed Marcus a copy of the deed. "Feel free to have a lawyer look at it." He crumpled the papers. "This is bull crap. This is business. You think you won something?" "I know I won something." Marcus took a step toward me, then stopped when he saw Officer Ortiz's patrol car turning onto our street. "Gentlemen," Ortiz got out of his car slowly, hand resting on his radio. "Everything okay here?" "Just fine," I said. "Mr. Hale? Any problems?" Marcus looked around at the moving truck, at the neighbors watching from their windows, at Dana crying in the driveway. "No problems." "Good." Ortiz nodded to me. "Mr. Stranger mouthing phrases that sounded rehearsed. "Dana tell you to say that?" "Nobody tells me what to say. Then why?" "Roar, have a good day." As the patrol car pulled away, Marcus grabbed Dana's arm. "Come on, we're leaving." She pulled away from him. "Don't touch me." "What?" I said, "Don't touch me. After everything I did for you, after I gave up my freedom for you, you didn't give up anything for me." Dana's voice was getting stronger. "You used me to get money from Tommy. That's not—" "It is." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Laya played me the AST recording. I heard what you really think of me." Marcus's face went red. "Your kid's a little... That's when I moved. I crossed the driveway in 3 steps and grabbed Marcus by the throat. Not hard enough to hurt him, just hard enough to get his attention. You don't talk about my daughter. Get your hands off me. You don't even look at my daughter, Jack. Dana pulled at my arm. Let him go. I released Marcus and stepped back. He rubbed his throat, glaring at me with pure hatred. This ain't over. Yes, it is. You think. Destroying everything makes you a winner? I think protecting what matters makes me a man. Marcus looked around walking out our front door to climb into another man's car on Mother's Day. Dana, don't do this. She turned back. Her face. Does it sound like you've practiced it? Tommy's jaw tightened. You're being paranoid. I started the engine. We'll driveway at the moving truck at Dana, standing apart from him at Laya, watching from the porch. Duck all of you. He got in his SUV and drove away, tires spinning on the wet pavement. Dana was still crying. What am I supposed to do now? Same thing you've been doing. Figure it out. I have nowhere to go. Call your sister. Call your mother. Call Marcus. He won't even look at me anymore. Can't say I blame him. She flinched. That's cruel. That's honest. The movers finished loading the truck and handed me a clipboard to sign. Our entire life together reduced to an inventory list and a bill of lading. As they drove away, my phone buzzed with a text from Carrie. Found something bigger. Tommy's been using pension money for 6 months. Total theft. $127,000. Meet me tonight. I showed the text to Laya. Dad, this is getting scary. Yeah, it is. Are you okay with that? I looked at our empty house, at Dana standing lost in the driveway, at the neighbors still watching from their windows. I'm fine. See? That afternoon, I drove across town to a small office building near the courthouse. The sign on the door read, Shit, shut, 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 shut. Bidduaren denna raith your basaw, soars namandao, and pondablen yeram dires yon set shet, vit shet shet it sekt. Why? Because scary means it's almost over. That night, Carrie called with the final pieces. Your brother's been covering the pension theft with credit advances from 3 different banks. All personally guaranteed. Meaning, when the feds freeze his assets tomorrow, those loans come due immediately. Tommy's looking at bankruptcy and federal charges. What about Marcus? Still in county lockup, bail set at $50,000. And Dana, unemployed, homeless, and broke. I sat in my truck outside our old house, watching the lights go out one by one. The developer crew would start demolition next week. Carrie, yeah, we finish this tonight. The storm broke at sunset, leaving the air clean and sharp with the smell of rain-washed concrete. I drove to Tommy's warehouse on Industrial Drive, where the street lights cast long shadows between the loading docks. I'd sent 3 different text messages an hour earlier to Tommy. Carrie Voss, Investigations and Process Service. Carrie was a former cop, mid-30s, with the kind of eyes that I'll pay back the pension money. Meet me at the warehouse to Dana. Marcus is with me. Come get him before he does. Something stupid. To Marcus's cousin, Bobby. Marcus needs bail money. Meet him at Tommy's warehouse. All 3 messages came from different numbers, courtesy of Carrie's burner phones. Now I sat in my truck across the street, watching them arrive one by one. Tommy got there first, parking his pickup near the office door. He looked older than his 45 years, shoulders bent like a man carrying too much weight. Dana arrived 10 minutes later in her sister's car. She parked at the far end of the lot and sat behind the wheel, probably trying to decide if she really wanted to face whatever was waiting inside. Marcus's cousin Bobby showed up, last, driving a rusted Camaro that sounded like it was dying. He parked between Tommy and Dana, got out, and walked toward the warehouse like a man heading to his own execution. I waited until all three were inside, then crossed the street and entered through the side door. The warehouse was mostly empty, just a few pallets of missed nothing. She'd served papers for me twice when subcontractors tried to skip out on jobs. Jack Roar, she gestured, construction supplies and some office furniture Tommy had been storing since his main business collapsed. Sodium. Lights hung from the ceiling, casting harsh yellow circles on the concrete floor. Tommy was standing near his office, hands in his pockets, looking confused. Jack, I thought you said Marcus would be here. I lied. Dana emerged from behind a stack of drywall. Where is he? Where's Marcus? County jail. You said he was with you. I lied. To you, too. Bobby came out of the shadows by the loading dock. He was shorter than Marcus, but built like a fire plug with the kind of scars that come from fighting for money. Where's my cousin? Same place. Jail. Then what the hell am I doing here? Good question. I walked to Tommy's office and flipped on the overhead lights. The warehouse lit, up like a football stadium. Every corner visible, every shadow erased. What's this about, Jack? Tommy asked. This is about the truth. I opened my beat book and read from the notes I'd been taking for 3 weeks. May 15th, Dana leaves with Marcus Hale. Investigation reveals Tommy is financing Hale's gym through Shell Company. Jack. May 20th. Marcus assaults to a chair across from her desk. What can I do for you? I need information on a gym called Hale's Iron. Owner, lease, me in Bar Alley. Admits to having sex with Dana in our home. Police body camera records confession. What are you doing? May 22nd. Tommy's construction site shut down for safety violations and permit fraud. Tommy stepped toward me. Stop. May 24th. Marcus attempts to flee with stolen pension funds and company property, apprehended at boat launch. I said stop. May 28th. FBI investigation. Reveals Tommy stole $127,000 from employee pension fund to finance personal businesses. The warehouse went quiet except for the hum of the overhead lights. And today, I continued, May 30th. All 3 conspirators meet at the Iapoc, scene of the crime, to discuss their next move. Dana was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. Conspirators? You, Tommy, and Marcus. The 3 people who decided my life was worth less than your personal satisfaction. It wasn't like, that. Tommy said, tell me what it was like. It was supposed to be simple. Dana would have her fling. You'd catch them. She'd feel guilty and agree to a quick divorce. No lawyers, no fighting. Agreements. Financial backing. Also need you to pull anything public on my wife Dana's finances and my brother Tommy's over assets. Clean break. And then, you'd need money. A job. I'd have offered you work, maybe eventually a partnership in the new company. Your company? Our company? Bullcrap. Bobby was looking back and forth between us like he was watching a tennis match. What the hell are you people talking about? Family business? I said. This is insane. Dana moved toward the door. I'm leaving. No, you're not. She stopped. You can't keep me here. I'm not keeping you here. You're staying because you want to know how this ends. I know how it ends. You win, we lose. Everyone's miserable. That's not how it ends. I walked to Tommy's office and picked up the phone on his desk, dialed 911, and set the receiver down without hanging up. "Jack." "What are you doing?" Tommy asked. "Finishing the job." That's when Bobby pulled a knife. It was a folding blade, maybe 4 in long, the kind of thing construction workers carried for cutting rope and opening boxes. Nothing fancy, but sharp enough to do damage. "Nobody's calling the cops," Bobby said. "Bobby," Tommy started. "Shut up." "Bobby." "Side businesses." She made notes on a yellow pad. "This personal or professional?" "Both." "Fair enough." "This," I pointed the knife at me. "My cousin's in jail because of this." "His life's ruined. Your cousin ruined his own life by ducking a married woman. Hell, man, that's just Tuesday. By stealing pension, money, and running like a coward." Bobby's face twisted. "Marcus didn't steal nothing. Check the evidence locker, laptop, bank records, $47,000 in cash. That money was his? No, it wasn't." Bobby lunged at me with the knife. He was fast, but he telegraphed the move by dropping his shoulder. I sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and used his momentum to send him into a stack of pallets. The knife went flying, clattering across the concrete floor. Bobby came up swinging, but he was off balance and angry. I caught him with a short left hook that put him down for good. Jesus Christ, Jack. Tommy stared at Bobby's unconscious form. "You could have killed him." I pulled the punch. "This is insane. This is justice." Dana was backing toward the door again. "I'm leaving." "Dana, wait." Tommy stepped between her and the exit. "About the woman who left with the big guy in the SUV yesterday." I shouldn't have been surprised. Carrie knew. "We need to talk about what?" "About the truth." "What truth?" Tommy looked at me, then back at Dana. "About why I really set up Marcus." The warehouse went quiet again. "I didn't want Jack to get suspicious about the business," Tommy said slowly. "I'd been skimming pension funds for 8 months. Jack's too honest, too careful with the books. He would have caught me eventually." Dana's face went white. "So you decided to destroy his marriage. I decided to distract him, give him something personal to worry about so he wouldn't look too close at the company finances. You used me. I used both of you." I walked over to the 911 phone and picked up the receiver. The operator was still on the line. "This is Jack Rohr at 1247 Industrial Drive. I'm reporting embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. Sir, are you in immediate danger?" "Not anymore." I hung up and turned back to Tommy and Dana. "You want to know the real joke? I trusted you both. Everything that happened in a 6-block radius of her office. You saw that?" "Saw. Completely." "Dana, I thought you were going through a midlife crisis." "Tommy, I thought you were trying to help me save my marriage." "Jack," Dana started, "I never suspected you were working together to destroy me." Tommy's shoulders sagged. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "How was it supposed to happen?" "You were supposed to catch them quickly, get angry, demand a divorce. Dana would feel guilty and agree to split everything 50-50. You'd walk away with enough money to start over somewhere else. Somewhere far away? Yeah. So you could steal the pension fund without anyone noticing. So I could borrow against it temporarily while I got the new projects running. I was going to pay it all back. Dana was staring at Tommy like she'd never seen him before. You told me Jack was controlling, that he'd never let me find myself unless I forced the issue. I told you what you needed to hear. You told me. Marcus cared about me. Marcus cared about the money I was paying him. How much? Tommy looked away. $2,000 a month. To seduce you and keep you interested. The words hit Dana like a physical blow. She stumbled backward, one hand pressed. You standing in your window watching them drive away looked like a man having a bad day. She set down her pen to her stomach. 2,000 plus expenses, dinners, gifts, whatever it took. I was a job to him. You were a job to both of us. Dana sank onto a stack of pallets, her face in her hands. Oh, God. Oh, God. What have I done? You did what Tommy told you to do, I said. Same as Marcus. But I chose it. I chose to leave you, to hurt you, to destroy our family. Yeah, you did. She looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. Can you ever forgive me? I thought about the question. Really thought about it. A month ago, the answer would have been automatic. Now I don't know. What does that mean? It means forgiveness isn't the same thing as trust, and without trust, there's nothing left to build on. Sirens were getting louder. Red and blue lights flashed through the warehouse windows. Jack, Tommy said, you don't have to do this. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family. Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes are accidental, cold as January concrete. Don't wait up. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Through the kitchen blinds, how deep you want me to dig? Deep enough to find out who's lying to me? That'll be 500 plus expenses. I wrote the check. What you did was deliberate. The warehouse doors burst open and cops poured in with guns drawn. Police hands, where we can see them. I raised my hands. Jack Rohr, I'm the one who called. Officer Ortiz was among the first through the door. He looked around at Bobby unconscious on the floor at Dana, crying on the pallets at Tommy standing with his hands up. What happened here? Confession, I said. All of it recorded. On the 911 call. Recorded how? I pointed to the phone on Tommy's desk. Lines. Been open for 10 minutes. Everything they said is on tape. Ortiz walked over and picked up the receiver. This is Officer Ortiz. Are you still there? A voice crackled through the speaker. Still here. Got everything recorded. Jesus, Tommy whispered. 2 detectives took statements while paramedics checked Bobby for a concussion. He came to, groggily, more embarrassed than injured. Dana sat in the back of an ambulance, not because she was hurt, but because she couldn't stop shaking. A female officer sat with her taking notes while, without hesitation. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Sal Navarro's office at the city building. Dana talked. I watched from across the parking lot as they loaded Tommy into a patrol car. He looked at me through the window and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. Mr. Rohr. Detective Williams was a big man with gray hair and the kind of patience that comes from 20 years of listening to lies. You want to tell me what really happened here? I wanted the truth. I got it. By setting up an elaborate trap. By giving them enough rope to hang. Themselves to hang themselves. Williams made notes in a small book. You realize, your brother's looking at federal charges, embezzlement, wire fraud, conspiracy. I realize that. And your wife? I looked at Dana sitting in the ambulance. She was staring at nothing like someone who'd just woken up from a long nightmare. My wife was a victim, too. You sure about that? She made bad choices. She is. But she made them based on lies, Tommy told her. That's generous. That's ran inspections for half the construction in town, and he'd been a pain in my ass for 3 years running. Rohr, accurate. Williams closed his notebook. We'll need you to come in tomorrow for a formal statement. I'll be there. As the cops finished up and the ambulances pulled away, I found myself alone in the parking lot with Dana. Jack. Yeah. What happens now? I looked at the warehouse. At the police tape and evidence markers and broken glass where someone had stepped on Bobby's knife. Now you figure out how to live with what you did. What about us? There is no us. But if I get help, if I figure out why I let Tommy manipulate me, Dana, stop. I know I hurt you. I know I destroyed everything we built together. But people can change, can't they? I thought about 20 years of marriage, about Laya's birth and our first house, and the way Dana used to laugh at my stupid jokes. People can change, I said. But I can't forget. You won't even try. I tried for 3 weeks. I tried to understand, to forgive, to find a way past this. I shook my head. He didn't look up from his computer. What do you want? The Morrison Street file. You said you'd have the final sign. But every time I look at you, I see you getting in that SUV on Mother's Day. I see you choosing him over me, over our family, over everything we spent 20 years building. I was confused. You were selfish. The words hung in the air, between us like smoke. So, this is it? Dana asked. This is it? She nodded, slowly. What about Laya? Lila will decide for herself. She's 17, not 7. Old enough to understand what happened and why. I love her. I know you do. Do. You think she'll ever forgive me? That's between you and her. Dana walked to her sister's car and got behind the wheel. She started the engine, but didn't put it in gear. Jack, what? For what it's worth. I'm sorry. I know you are. Does that count for anything? It counts for exactly what it's worth. She drove away without another word. I stood in the empty parking lot listening to the distant sound of traffic and the closer sound of my own breathing. The warehouse looked different now, smaller somehow, off today. Yeah, about that. S finally met my eyes and his expression was smug, like a building that had served its purpose and could finally be torn down. My phone buzzed. Text from Laya. Dad, are you okay? I typed back, I'm fine. Coming home. Home? The hotel? Our temporary home. Did you get them? I got them. All of them. All of them. Good. I'm proud of you. I stared at the text. For a long moment, then typed, I'm proud of you, too. As I drove back toward town, I thought about the beat, books sitting on the passenger seat. 20 pages of notes, phone numbers, dates, and observations. The record of a marriage ending and a family breaking apart, but also the record of a man who refused to let other people's choices define his life. I'd started the book 3 weeks ago as a way to track the damage. Now it felt like something else, entirely. A blueprint for rebuilding. The hotel room was small but clean, with 2 beds and a view of the parking lot. Laya was sitting at the little table by the window doing homework on her laptop. How did it go? It went. She looked up from her computer. Are you going to tell me what happened? Tommy confessed to, as a fed cat, we seem to have misplaced some paperwork. Might take another week or 2 to sort out. Bull crap. That's embezzling pension funds. Dana admitted she knew Marcus was being paid to seduce her. Both of them are facing charges. And Marcus, still in jail. Probably staying there for a while. Laya nodded and went back to her homework. After a moment, she said, Dad, yeah. Are you sad about what? About Mom? About Uncle Tommy? About everything falling apart? I sat on my bed and thought about the question. I'm sad about what they chose to do. But I'm not sad about the consequences. Is that wrong? I don't think so. Good, because I'm not sad either. We ordered Chinese food and watched TV. Two people starting over in a hotel room that smelled like industrial carpet cleaner and other people's dreams. At 11, Laya went to bed. I sat by the window with my beat book adding the final entries. May 30th, confrontation at warehouse. Tommy confesses to pension fraud and conspiracy. Dana admits knowledge of payment arrangement. Both arrested. Case closed. Outcome: marriage destroyed. Family destroyed. Business destroyed. Brother's life destroyed. Wife's life. $60,000 hold. That's how long it takes. He leaned back in his chair. Maybe if destroyed, collateral damage, extensive, regrets, none. I closed the book and put it in my suitcase. Tomorrow I'd start a new one. Different job, different life, different problems to solve. But tonight, I sat in that hotel room chair and felt something I hadn't felt in 3 weeks. Peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you've seen the worst people can do to each other and survived it. The kind of peace that comes from refusing to let other people's weakness become your own. Outside, the city slept. Inside, my daughter breathed softly in her bed, dreaming whatever 17-year-olds dream when their world falls apart and gets rebuilt in the same month. I thought about Dana, probably lying awake in her sister's guest room trying to figure out how she'd lost everything in 30 days. I thought about Tommy, sitting in a cell, calculating the years he'd spend, paying for his choices. I thought about Marcus, discovering what it felt like to be the victim instead of the predator. And I thought about the house I'd sold, the one that would be torn down next week to make room for something new. You kept better control of your personal business, your professional business would run smoother. The words hit like a sometimes destruction is just another word for renovation. Sometimes the only way to build something better is to knock down what was there before. Sometimes the man with the sledgehammer isn't the villain. Sometimes he's the architect. I turned off the light and went to bed. And for the first time in 3 weeks, I slept through the night without dreaming of revenge. Because revenge, I'd learned, wasn't about destroying your enemies. It was about refusing to let them destroy. Slap. Snew about Dana. The whole town probably knew by now. You want to say that again? I'm saying a man who can't keep his house in order shouldn't be surprised when his work gets scrutinized. I stood up slowly. I watched her slide into the passenger seat of that SUV. The plates read, Michigan, not local. The driver wore a soft, desk-bound, but he had the city behind him. Violence would only make things worse. I'll remember that, S. You do that. Outside in the parking lot, I was unlocking my truck when someone called my name. I turned to see Jerry. Morrison, a subcontractor I'd worked with for years. Jack, hell of a thing, huh? What's that, Jerry? His grin was uncomfortable. The kind of expression people wear when they're about to say something cruel and pretend it's friendly. Your old lady stepping out, like that takes balls. I'll give her that. Jerry, man, if my wife tried that crap, I'd stop talking when he saw my face. Hey, I'm just saying, you know, everyone's talking about it. The parking lot felt like it was tilting. Everyone? Come on, Jack. She's not exactly being discreet. That musclehead she's with, he's been bragging at Kelly's bar all week about his married piece. Real romantic, right? Something snapped. I took 3 quick steps and Jerry stumbled backward. Hands up. Jack, easy. You got something to say about my wife? No, man. I was just... Because if you've got something to say it to my face. Jerry's eyes darted around the parking. Gym hoodie with Hale's iron printed across the back. Big guy, thick neck, tattoo snaking up his forearm. The lot. A couple of guys from the county crew had stopped to watch. I didn't mean nothing by it. Yeah, you did. I stepped closer. You meant exactly what you said. Jerry tried to back away, but his heel caught on the curb and he went down, hard, landing on his ass in the gravel. His face went red as a stop sign. God damn it, Jack. I walked away before I did something that would land me in jail. That night, Carrie called with her. Preliminary findings. Your brother's got 3 LLCs registered in the last 6 months, she said. One of them, Wolverine. Holdings just signed a lease agreement for a property on Riverside Drive. What's on Riverside? Hale's Iron Gym. Your brother Tommy is financing your wife's boyfriend's business. I sat in my truck outside the gym staring at the neon sign through the windshield. The place looked busy. Guys in tank tops coming and going. The kind of meat, a market operation that catered to men who needed to prove something. My phone buzzed. A text from Dana. Need to talk. Can you meet tomorrow? I typed back. Saw the lease agreement for the gym. Tommy's name is on it. The response came fast. Engine growled and they drove away. I stood there for maybe 5 minutes listening to the house settle around me. We're not getting a divorce. Stop digging. I smiled without humor and typed. Good. Then you'll survive this. Friday night. I walked into Kelly's bar knowing exactly what I'd find. The place was packed with the usual crowd. Construction guys, city workers, off-duty cops. The air tasted like cigarettes and bad decisions. Dana was sitting at the bar with him. The guy was exactly what I'd expected. 6'4", probably 220, with arms like tree trunks, and the kind of face that spent serious time in front of mirrors. He wore a tight t-shirt that showed off his physique and a gold chain that caught the neon light. Dana saw me first. Her face went white, then red. Jack, what are you doing here? Having a drink in my neighborhood bar, I ordered. A beer from Mickey, the bartender, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Who's your friend? The big guy. Turned on his stool. Up close, he was younger than I'd thought, maybe 35. With the kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. You must be the husband. He stuck out a hand. Big Marcus.